Hello and welcome to the Reds Report. We are Barnsley FC's longest running podcast, sponsored by the Best of Barnsley, and we are part of the TalkSport network of fans. With us this evening, and I was going to say all the way from the Manchester area, but that's because I'm in the Netherlands. Brexit means Brexit, but I'm coming back. And Ian from the Tigers Block. Ian, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
And apologies in advance.
Yeah.
Apologies in advance. Because joining us, as always, is a man who has played a round of golf today. To finish that off, he sank a few pints and is now digging into his cold pizza all the way from the West Wing. It's Steve Andrews. Good evening, Steve.
Good evening, gentlemen. And what a fine evening and a fine day it's been as well. Thank you very much.
A good round then.
Yeah, we won. Hey!
Victory drinks just the one, or?
No, victory drink. I can't even say victory drink. We did have a couple afterwards. As I did sink the winning putt in our game, so that was very exciting, and it was just like being at Masters.
Right.
That's why I've got my dressing gown in, because being old, when I got home, I had to go and sit in bath for an hour.
Let's talk about the sport that's far more interesting than your golf game, Steve. Come on.
Oh, women's volleyball.
And following the disappointment, as we could say, can't even go in there, away at Exeter, it was important for the Reds to bounce back, and bounce back they did. And Ian, we spoke beforehand in the pub where we just had a civilized drink, and I said to you, a couple of days before the match, you look at the stats, you look at the table, you think, easy victory this. And then as you get closer to kickoff, you think, the team comes out, you're happy with that. But there's always that sort of uncertainty because you never know, I suppose it is a football match, and any team that comes up well will come and try to make it really difficult for us. Not wanting to be too disrespectful to Morecambe, I thought it was one of the worst teams I've seen come. And it's a team that's struggling, to me, with confidence, with goals and everything else. How did you view their performance, first of all?
I don't think we gave them a chance to get a foothold in the game, did we? They were non-existent. They got it down and played it. It wasn't like hoofball, but you score early on, you open the opposition up, don't you? The back's against the wall straight away. Everybody settles down, home fans settle down, and we played our football. So perfect start for me.
Yeah. Steve, it was an enjoyable match. We'll go through it in a bit, but that's the sort of response we needed to see, wasn't it, from the 11 that started away at Exeter?
You know what? I think we always knew that's what was going to happen, because of the morale that's in the camp. There's definitely a togetherness there that Duff's brought between players, and Duff is obviously that sort of guy that, you know what, you have a bad performance, I think he's one of them. He'll put his arm around one of them's shoulder, he'll kick another one up backside, but he'll not let it carry on to next game, and it proved that. It proved that on Saturday.
Ian, we said before the starting 11 on Saturday, every single one of them, except for Harry Eisted, evening Mr. Eisted, have scored so far this season. Obviously, we won't expect Eisted, to contribute to cup. It'd be nice. How important is it to for the run and everything to keep these 11? Because it definitely seems to be his preferred starting 11, doesn't it? And I know Steve in a bit we'll talk about Adam Phillips, but actually, as a unit, they are a force to be reckoned with, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was right. He mixed it up a little bit from the Exeter game, but generally the side picks itself, doesn't it? With maybe the exception of, well, we've discussed Phillips, but he does tend to pick him more often than not. But yeah, picks itself. But what's good about the fact that it picks itself, sometimes you get a little bit of people take the foot off the gas, don't they? Because they know they're going to get a game every week. Whereas we know with Duff, if the form does tail off, he'll give the shirt to somebody else. So whilst there's no complacency, but it's a strong team. Nobody, you're not telling me any side in that division wants to play us right now. We were discussing off air. We beat Wycombe. They've not really recovered since we beat them. We beat Derby. They've not recovered since we beat them. They've gone on a poor run. And Wednesday haven't recovered since we beat them.
Massive,
so no one's
massive Wednesday. Massive Wednesday. Massive.
Those 6 million in that away end started going home in the last couple of minutes, didn't they? So, but picks itself, that team, but there's no complacency, which is really pleasing for me.
And talking about pleasing, Steve, obviously your man Phillips was left out. I'm not in that way. I know what you're thinking. No, we're not going there.
Okay.
Talk to us about Luke Thomas, because it's hard, isn't it? He was sort of like the standout player early on in the season, horrible injury, and then forcing your way into a team that's pretty settled, that's doing pretty well. What does he bring instead of Phillips when he plays?
Well, I mean, let's face it, they are two different players. I think Phillips, good points, bad points, goes missing. For me, he goes missing in games. Yeah, he pops up with some really good goals. And he does do some sort of behind the scenes breaking up a play, that sort of thing. But as I said, for me, he goes missing too much to play a full game. Whereas Luke Thomas is always quick, nippy. I'm not saying he's more attacking minded than Phillips. I think he's more skillful than Phillips. He's definitely got a little bit of a look of perhaps Connor Chaplin about him. But I actually like Luke Thomas. But yeah, he just brings another dimension, I think, to it, and another attacking dimension. And I think it proved that on Saturday, because the strikers did seem to get better service from through balls are outside, balls into box, etc. And then I think it also encourages fullbacks, Cadden and Williams, to push up at the same time. So yeah, I would have Luke Thomas as a first pick all day long.
What about the other change, Ian? Max Watters started instead of Norwood up front. Watters partnered with Devante Cole, obviously between them, few goals. What are we making of him? Because early on he had that silly foul and he was sent off, and then quietly in the goals, though, isn't he? Like he always, when he scores, it just seems to be like he's in the right place at the right time. Is looking ahead to Burton? Do you say go with Watters? Do you say go with Norwood? Do you go with Cole and Norwood? Cole and Watters? Because we've got three now, really, haven't we? That are regular sort of players these last few weeks. Who do you go with and why?
It's a good headache to have, though. Watters plays a little bit on the edge. Like he showed when he got sent off. Was it the Accrington game? I think it was the Accrington game. I still don't think we've seen the best of Watters. Like, we haven't seen the best of Tedic yet, and we haven't seen anything of Ollie Shaw. I think we've got 2 games in a couple of days, so I think I can see Norwood probably starting in one of them and not in the other one. I think he's in through. It seemed a bit silly, actually. I was talking to somebody next to me on Saturday and was saying he played Norwood at Exeter when he was on the verge of a 2-match ban, gets through that, and then doesn't pick him next game.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's horses for courses and who's done well in training, but who would I pick? I mean, your first option would be Cole and Norwood, and then maybe rest Norwood on Monday. Do it that way round. I don't. It's a tough one. I'll probably say that. Steve might say something different. You might say something different again. It's a great problem to have. And I wouldn't like to put money on who he's going to pick up front for the front 2 tomorrow.
Steve, it's difficult, isn't it? So you've got Devante Cole, Max Watters, and then Norwood was on the bench, and Tedic was on the bench. Watters and Cole started. Watters came off. Tedic came on. So James Norwood and Brad Collins were the only 2 unused substitutes on Saturday. Is that 2 games, 4 days? We need him fully fit for at least a full 90 minutes, or maybe both for those. Is it because, we went up quite early, it was a comfortable match, you might as well give him 90 minutes rest because he's played a lot of matches. It's a good chance to have a look at Watters. It's a decent chance again for Tedic to show what he can do. We do need James Norwood, don't we? Because for me, I mean, Ian said Watters lives on the edge. think Norwood is there, but maybe a bit more towards the middle than, the extreme right, where what is sometimes sort of plays. We need James Norwood, don't we? Because early on in the season, opinions varied, but he's brought something more, I think, on and off the pitch, hasn't he, for these 11 players to become a unit.
It'll be Cole and Norwood for me tomorrow. Reason behind that is whenever we go to Burton, it's always a little bit of a battle. I think Norwood is the sort of striker who can put himself about, knows how to put himself about. He's got a bit of a mastery of the dark arts that we talk about. And I'm not saying Max Waters doesn't, but yeah, he needed that game on Saturday because we've not, like Ian said, we've not seen enough of him. He's not proved himself as much as he possibly could, but he does seem to be getting there, unlike that other loanee player that we had, can't remember his name, that just did absolutely nothing, and we've never seen him ever again. I think he's working in Aldi in Norwich somewhere, something like that. Anyway, so no, for me, for tomorrow, it would be Cole and Norwood up front. But I would like to see Tedic get a run this weekend, probably on Monday. I'd like to see him get a start and probably give Cole a rest, because I'm not being funny. I know he's on form, he's playing really, really well, but one of these two games, and probably Shrewsbury on Monday, would be a nice opportunity to give Cole a rest.
I mean, we can analyse all we want, but it was a resounding victory against a team that never really, I don't feel we ever got out of second or third gear. So you look ahead. Is it going to be a good Friday, Steve?
It's been a good Thursday. I don't know about hotels.
It's a tricky one, isn't it? Burton, smaller pitch. Fans seem to be sort of radar. Look at the form. So the last 6 or so, draw, lost one, drawn. So there don't seem to be much consistency. We said while we were waiting for you to join us, as you were waiting for your pizza to be delivered, when we lose a match, we are able to come back. Wednesday can't. Yeah. It seems Burton have got a bit of an issue, just any sort of stability. Literally, it's 0-0. The match before they win 3-2. The match before that, they lose 5-2. There's not much sort of regularity. Is that something Barnsley can exploit?
No. You know what? You look at Bristol City, you look at Exeter. You can talk about games until you're blue in face. In a way, at this point at season, I think form goes out at window to a certain extent. I mean, you look at Wednesday. They've done nothing since we beat them. We crushed them, absolutely annihilated the Massive. And they've done nothing. Derby's having a shocking time of it. They're slipping down. Peterborough's coming up. So, you're going to Burton tomorrow. I think we'll get something at Burton. I really do. I think they'll carry on what they left off on Saturday. That morale again is really high. They scored 5 goals and they didn't have to try. I think that's the thing. It was really easy for them on Saturday, and I thought at times. And this is going to sound really odd. It was though. It got a little bit boring. That excitement that we had at Wednesday, when we were, it were nip and tuck, and it were fantastic. And atmosphere and crowd were amazing. But on Saturday, we were winning 5-0, and it still felt a little flat. I mean, I had an annoying git behind me who kept touching me, so obviously I had to report him to Stuart. But we'll not go into that. I'm still getting flashbacks. That's why I have to drink. But no, I think tomorrow. I think tomorrow will be a harder game than Monday. I really do. Because at home we seem to be able to fire at home. But I still think we'll get something out of tomorrow.
If you look at it, though, I mean, Steve sort of said, stats everything and form might go out of the way. Burton are 18th. Their goal difference is -23. Ours is +32. That's a 55-goal swing almost, isn't it? So, we've won 23 matches. They've won 11. They're 18th. We're 4th. So on the base of it, you look at that. I suppose in the betting tomorrow, you might get 5, 6, 7 to 1, for them, and we'll be very, very short. 2 games in a row in the past has been a problem for Barnsley at times. I remember lots of years ago winning 4 or 5-0 on the Friday and losing 5-0 on the bank holiday Monday. I mean, it is about consistency, isn't it? Steve says the other match is probably easier, the Shrewsbury one. How do you see tomorrow going, Ian?
I agree with Steve. I think tomorrow's going to be a tougher game. I think they'll make it difficult. Yeah, they are inconsistent. We should, on paper, be going there and getting a result, but I do see shadows of Exeter and Bristol Rovers. I think it'll be and Wickham away. I think it'll be a tough game. And Duff's already alluded that if you're just going to turn up thinking it's going to be looking at the stats, then you'll get caught out. But I think it'll be a tougher game, and I think Shrewsbury at home, I think, will be the easier game. I think at home we're quite dominant. Not that we're not away, but we are at home, and I think I just think as long as if we do what we've been doing, we should get a result. But you just can't take your foot off the gas at this stage, can you? Because you do get some funny results at Easter. We've seen it recently the last couple of weeks, but yeah, do everything right, prepare for it right. I think we'll be fine, but I don't think it won't come easy.
No, I bet all those Sheffield Wednesday podcasts a few weeks ago were all saying exactly the same conversation about going down to Forest Green. We're top, Forest Green's bottom, and we're going to absolutely annihilate it. They're taking probably 8.5 million down with them. And they got, this time at season now, it's anybody's game.
And I think part of that was a 23 game unbeaten run comes to an end in a South Yorkshire derby on TV in spectacular style. And I think it was a real body, not just the result, but the manner in which we just played them off the pitch. And I think we said it earlier again, when you've been on an unbeaten run for 23, it's hard to put your mind back because you don't know how it feels to look. You know what I mean? Burton and
I think that's what one real attribute of this side under Duff is. We've had that bounce back ability, haven't we? We've had a couple of blips throughout the season, but we've got almost back on the horse and carried on, haven't we? We losing at Exeter, bouncing back. We did it when we look at the run we've just been on after a dodgy January. We're able to kind of dust ourselves down and go again, where some of the other teams have had a massive hangover for weeks. The clubs we've already mentioned. So that's been a real attribute this season, that we've been able to dust ourselves down, look ourselves in the mirror, and start another run again and go again. And I think that's been great. Real sort of real, applause to everybody involved, I think, for that, players and staff.
And obviously, Jasper Moon, in the press conference today, Duff mentioned the fact that he did sign a new deal before he went on loan to Burton. And he's doing really well there. Various, man of the match awards. They're absolutely raving about him. He's unable to play. I think I saw, but I'm not 100% sure. But did somebody get a yellow card of them a couple of matches ago? Somebody suspended maybe. So, listen, we're not clutching at straws. But if you have a defender on loan that's doing really, really well and wins lots of man of the matches, and he is unable to play, it shakes things up a bit again. So tomorrow then, Burton host Barnsley. First goal scorer for Barnsley, Steve, and final result. And same for you, Ian, and then we'll look at Shrewsbury. Look at Steve.
I thought I'd been quite coherent considering what I had to drink this afternoon. But anyway,
so far so good. We're only halfway.
So far so good. Yeah, that's it. And I haven't swore once yet. I'm going to go for tomorrow. I think Norwood will come back in and score, to be honest.
Okay. Final result?
2-0.
2-0. Norwood. Remember it in case it comes through. Probably won't.
It's not going to, is it? Let's be honest.
Well, I'd like to echo it, but I've got to do something different. So I'll go 3-1 to the Reds. I think Bobby Thomas. Bobby Thomas.
Right. I'll go completely different then. I'll go 3-0 because I was going to go 2-0. Then I was going to go 3-1, but seeing as you picked it all, thanks, lads. I'll go the Vanti Cole because I just think I've backed him all the way, and he's obviously.
Who did you have, Ian?
Evening, Mr. Cole.
I've gone Bobby Thomas.
Right.
Just
not Luke Thomas.
If it wasn't for the Bobby Thomas late goal, I did say 4-0. I did say goal first, but obviously that didn't happen. But anyway, it is what it is. So we're all going for a Barnsley victory. It's probably a day's recovery and I'm back in training ready for an Easter Monday home fixture against Shrewsbury. Now, Shrewsbury, obviously slightly higher up the table, and they sit in 10th. The 20 points behind us, so I don't think they can really make. Let's have a look. They're 55 points, even for the playoffs. The 10 points off. I actually think that's a more dangerous, and I know we're at home again, but it's those sort of teams. I don't know. We can't do too much because obviously we still have to play tomorrow. Do you expect over these two matches to be changes in the starting 11, Steve?
Yes, but not major changes. Not major change. I mean, two games in 3 days, 4 days. There's always chance of an injury. Hopefully there won't be. I think it'll be the same squad of players. To be honest, I think you'll have your starting 11 and your subs. I can't really see that changing again unless there's been an injury or anything during this week. For me, starting 11, 10 out of 11 probably picks itself.
Yeah. One person we haven't talked about, which the signing of January so far has to be the loan signing of Harry Eisted. Evening, Mr. Eisted.
Evening, Mr. Eisted. Does Mr. Eisted drink?
Well, probably when he listens to you, yeah, just to get through.
No, maybe so. It's hard work. It's hard going, mate, I'll tell you.
Can you realistically see Collins getting back into the squad? Obviously, if it's an injury. And what, to you, is the difference between Harry Eisted and Brad Collins? Because Brad Collins was, at one point, the saviour, did really well. We talked about the confidence issues. Is it a coincidence that this, the running one that we're on home and everything, that sort of started when Eisted came in? Who do you prefer and why? I'll go with you first, Ian. Let Steve have a think, because he's had a beer or two, he's eating pizza. Let him have a think.
I don't want to diss Brad Collins too much because he has done well for us, and I still think he was probably our standout performer last season in that season. But I just feel with Eisted, yes, it is Eisted, not Eisted. I do feel that he's just oozes that little bit more confidence, and he settles everybody down. And I still think the biggest difference for me is if there's a cross comes in, Collins wants to punch it and flap at it, Eisted will catch it and keep it, and it'll stick to his gloves. That's the biggest difference for me. But to come into a new environment and play like he's been here for a couple of seasons is the biggest compliment I can probably give him. So I'd pick Eisted, and I think unless his form drops off a cliff anytime soon, I think he'll have them gloves till the end of the season.
Steve, hard to think, isn't it, that Eisted hardly played any league games because he was basically what Collins is now to him over at Luton. And I know you like him a lot. Tell me what Brad Collins needs to do or improve to try back in goal. Keep it clean.
I'm going to be blunt, is what I'm going to be. At minute, there's nothing Collins can do to get back in goal. Eisted is he's playing too well. He's made that position his own in a short space of time. It amazes me that he didn't play more often for Luton. The performances he's put in for us. If I could, I'd sign him tomorrow. If we could get paperwork and everything sorted out, get him signed and keep him, I really would. He'd be one of the players I'd be pushing for at end of season, definitely. So in terms of Brad Collins, there's nothing he can do at this minute to push him out of that spot. He's playing too well, and he brings more to the team for me than Brad Collins does.
It can work sometimes like that, can't it? If you remember, sometimes players get in a bit of a rut and it just doesn't work out. And I suppose as a goalie as well, isn't it? you're not going to get on that field of play unless there's an injury, because you don't often swap goalies unless you're Holland in the World Cup finals and there's penalties come in and then you quickly swap them. But you normally don't swap. So it's a thankless job at times, isn't it? And I know it wasn't a goalie, but if you remember when Vastey was over in Scotland, Aberdeen or whatever, and he was just, they were booing him off the pitch every single time. And then he gets a chance at a new club. I mean, you know, look what he did and look what happened in West Ham and everything else. And I suppose for Eisted, and especially to come in a side that, you know, we were going through a bit of a rough patch. It says a lot about him, doesn't it? And I think he's one of them, and having quickly spoken to his dad via Twitter, I think he's good at everything he does. So he used to play rugby, he used to play football, cricket, football, obviously. The lads went bowling the other day. The first ball, hook, strike. He's one of them that we're probably all jealous of.
All right, mate, put your shoes away now, buddy. Leave him alone. Flipping heck. We know he's good, but come on.
Do we expect Eisted to be busier than against Shrewsbury than against Burton?
Busier against Shrewsbury?
Yeah. I'm just wondering. The higher up the league, they've scored more goals, they've got more points. Is he going to be busier? Or is that home advantage, Ford Oakwell, flags waving, hey Jude, all that malarkey, DJ before, that atmosphere is going now?
I'd go. He'd be busier at Burton. I think they might go. They might go long. They might go. I think they'll try and rough us up. Do you know what I mean? I think they'll try and be physical because we can have the press. I think you'd be more busier at Burton, I would say.
Right. Well, one question remains then. After the resounding victory away at Burton, the home fixture on Monday against Shrewsbury. I'll go first, just because I have a score in my head, and then everybody picks it. So I'm going for 3-0.
Nobody were picking that. Nobody were picking 3-0 for Monday.
just be wary. Could be 5. I'll keep the 3. Ian, what do you go for? Barnsley, Shrewsbury.
I think we'll win. I'll go 2-1 on the basis that I think 2 games in those few days, although I've said that would be the easier game, I'm going to contradict myself here now and say 2-1. I think it'll be a tougher thing just physically because of the games in the short space. So I'll go 2-1 to the Reds.
Stephen Andrews.
2-0.
2-0. Who's going to score first?
Your first scorer on Monday, because there'll be a couple of little subtle changes, I feel, after tomorrow's game.
Josh Martin.
And I thought we weren't swearing. Where is he now? Collecting trolleys at Asda, perhaps. I bet he couldn't collect them. Couldn't trap a balls, can't collect trolleys. I'm going to go for... do you know what? I'll throw it in mix. I'm going to go Tedic on Monday because I think Tedic might get a run out.
Right. Who was your first goal scorer, Ian?
Midfield.
See, I've gone easy. 3-0 both matches, Cole both matches, because then I remember what I've done.
Does Cole come back tomorrow, or does he? I think Norwood will come back in tomorrow and be rested Monday. The crystal ball's telling me I think that, so I won't go Norwood. I'll go Cole on Monday then.
Yeah, why not?
And then when you ask me next week, I'll go, I can't remember.
I remember been drinking again like you were in pub. All this nice quiet drink on Saturday. Why didn't you tell the truth and say it weren't a nice quiet drink, really, was it? Because it got a little bit raucous.
Yeah, and some, to be fair, some kind soul, some young lad, my first round, I'm too busy bringing the beers back to the table. I left my phone on the bar. When he come back,
and nobody nicked it. Nobody nicked it. What's that all about?
It's great for me. Table service and went, there's your phone. Oh, thanks very much.
I tell you, there's no place like Barnsley, mate.
No, it's because it was a crap phone. It were an iPhone. It's an iPhone 6. That's why.
A weekend of football. A weekend of football ahead of us. Barnsley away at Burton tomorrow. Hopefully making it a really good Friday, and we're hoping for an excellent Easter Monday when Barnsley are at home to Shrewsbury.
Happy birthday to your mum as well, mate.
Thank you. Sunday.
Happy birthday.
Sunday. Yeah.
I know, yeah. Happy birthday, mum.
I'll
bless her.
She keeps asking why couldn't I stay longer. I says I've got an important an important appointment. On Monday.
Doctor's
No.
Monday, yeah.
No? Oakwell, 3 o'clock.
I know where it is. I'm just wondering if she's listening. She's walked past. We waved.
Yeah, no. We're lucky she made it back, and that's all I'm saying. You've been listening to the Reds Report live from Holland. We'll be back next week. That's if they let me back in the country, because Brexit being Brexit, apparently. We'll be back next week with the reviews of the Burton and the Shrewsbury match. You've been listening to Ian from the Tigers blog, Steve Andrews, and Carlo van der Watering. Until next week, thanks for listening. Bye-bye.